I don't even know where to start at this point. And let's start off with like a quick intro. My name is Mike Ramirez and fellow founder. We're going to jump right into it. Dave Schools is a familiar face, a familiar guest that we have here. Dave Schools. Dave, I just kind of want to run a little bit down your LinkedIn just to kind of give people, who aren't familiar with you, just a little bit about your background, and I'll let you share a little bit more based on where you want to go from there. But Dave Schools is the co-founder and CEO of Singulate. He's also founder and editor-in-chief of the Entrepreneurship Handbook, co-founder of Party Cues. He was also the VP of multi-product growth at Hopin for products such as Streamable, StreamYard, and Superwave. So, Dave, again, a really impressive background. I remember interviewing you for another podcast where we were chatting a little bit about your experience at Hopin. A lot's changed since then. So, can you give us a little bit of background of kind of what you're working on and what you're up to lately?
Yeah. I remember starting an Entrepreneurship Handbook. It feels kind of meta to be on the podcast for this Medium publication that I created 9 years ago now. And it started off as just like kind of a repository to capture like where I'd publish any of my Medium articles, where as I was learning and studying entrepreneurship and kind of standing up my first businesses. And one thing led to the next. And today it has, I think, 286,000 followers on Medium, an incredible team of editors who are kind of running with it while I'm focused on full-time venture projects. They're doing an awesome job. I love checking in and kind of staying. I'm very much like keeping tabs and reading Entrepreneurship Handbook every week, and really excited about where it's at today. And it's really the reason where I'm at. It put me on the map as far as connecting me with some incredible CEOs and founders. One of whom was Johnny Buford. That's how I kind of got connected with Hopin, and we got introduced. And it's funny, it's actually not many people know this, but the reason how I got connected to Hopin, let me say it this way, is I'm a multi-project entrepreneur. I have Party Cues, I have Entrepreneurship Handbook, then Hopin, and so I always have like a lot going on. I've got a book, I've got writing courses, and I'm a big fan of being a multi-project entrepreneur because there's ways that projects can overlap and lead into new projects and open doors that you weren't expecting, and then suddenly two projects can come merge together and balloon into something like really huge. So I interviewed the founder of one of the largest Slack communities of marketers, and I told him after the end of the interview, and I told him about what I was working on with Party Cues, conversation starter app. It's got over 600,000 downloads. And he's like, "Oh, cool! I know a guy who's working on a networking platform. You should connect with him." That guy was Johnny Buford of Hopin. So it's like an article I was writing for because of Party Cues as like a side project led me to being introduced to the founder of Hopin. So like all comes together, in the end. So yeah, like that was how I jumped in with Hopin. And then, so this year, actually answering your question, that was a bit of a fun tangent.
It's all right.
This year, so at the end of Hopin, I want to answer that question of like how like Hopin wrapped up and what I'm doing today and how it kind of led into that.
Indeed.
Cool. So Hopin wrapped up at the beginning of this year. I got a WhatsApp video, and I think it was January of this year. I got a WhatsApp video call from a familiar face while I was just getting food at IHOP with my family. And whenever I get a WhatsApp video call from this friend, my life dramatically can change. And so we just get our hot plates of food, and he calls, and I show my wife the WhatsApp video, and she's like, she kind of puts her fork down and kind of gives me a look. And I was like, do I take it? Do I call him back? And it was one of those times where it's like, you got to take the phone call. And so I took the phone call, and we chatted in the lobby of IHOP. And he told me that two early Hopin engineers were getting back together, and they had an idea in AI, and they wanted to talk with folks in the marketing space, and they had called my friend, and he said, "Oh, you got to talk to Dave. Like, he's the 0 to 1 marketer at Hopin, launching products. He's a writer." And so I was like, "This sounds interesting." Gave him a call, and these two early Hopin engineers ended up becoming my co-founders. One thing led to the next. They told me about what they were working on, and the way they described what the technology could do kind of solved the biggest problem that we had at Hopin. And what they described was the ability to write for the individual at scale. And at Hopin, we always struggled with having not at Hopin, we didn't really struggle with having data. It was how we used that data to easily segment and meaningfully personalize our communications to our attendees at our events. So we would just send marketing blasts where 99% of the content was the same. But we were really missing a huge growth opportunity by taking the data that we would get from the Hopin Events platform and our CRM and our product analytics, combining that together, and then using that data to write with. And what I mean by that is using data to do deep segmentation and to write for a one-to-one personalization, which has been like, this problem has been around and felt by companies and marketing teams for decades. Like, there's really nothing new. Everybody knows that personalization segmentation helps improve conversion rates from email marketing. What the problem was the platforms that we use, and we had like the leading marketing automation MarTech stack. We had a 45-person marketing team. We invested heavily in our marketing ops, and yet we still struggled with this problem. So it's like, where was the break? Like, why didn't the loop close from it getting data out of our product, CRM, and events platforms to the actual communications we sent? Like, something wasn't going through. And so what's new, and kind of where Singulate came from, is that AI turns red oceans blue. AI resets everything. AI presents an opportunity to revisit huge markets, huge industries, and kind of see them from a new perspective, and kind of rebuild from the ground up with simplicity and speed and ease, and using data in really interesting ways. So that's where Singulate comes in. And what we're doing is making sophisticated marketing automation that was previously thought to be a very expensive and often requiring a $250,000 MarTech stack implementation and an ops team and data scientists. We're taking all of that and bringing it into one product that's easy to use for marketing teams to essentially achieve segmentation and personalization at scale without all the ops work, and to do it in a 90% faster, simpler way without compromising anything on the quality side, and actually being able to target more deeply, like using generative personalization and like segmentation of every part of a campaign just by using natural language to work. So it's really transformational, and it's the way we describe what's coming in email marketing. And we've talked about Singulate being the future of large scale communication. And the reason why we see it that way is in 5 to 10 years from now, marketing from businesses, their communication from businesses is all going to look very, very individualized. Like, what we receive from businesses are all going to be hyper personalized to each user based on the data that business has on you that you've shared with them. And so the outcome of that, or why that's a good thing and not a bad thing, is because the communication that you receive from businesses and brands should all be very relevant to you. So it won't be kind of emails that are irrelevant, that you don't care about, that you delete and unsubscribe from, but actually emails that are helpful, like help you succeed in your job, are like solving problems and kind of like curating the web and like what that business is off, like why you initially were interested in that business in the first place, and bringing that to your inbox in a way where it's very helpful, it's engaging, and you want to read. And we're kind of seeing this already with high quality newsletters, but those newsletters are still kind of broadcast communications. There's still like a whole world of taking that newsletter kind of generalized content and bringing that to the individual and make like, so when you release a course or like a new feature or you announce an event, and there's like a ton of speakers, whenever, or like a new study or a white paper, whenever there's like this broad, really good information, when you distribute it, that's where it's going to be individualized to be one-to-one relevant to that person. That's the future of where marketing communication is going. And that's what Singulate does.
Amazing. And is this, Dave, is this more of like a missed opportunity from, that companies like HubSpot and MailChimp are missing out on, or is it something that can work well with those products as like an add-on? Is Singulate kind of independent? Is it kind of taking advantage of a clean market opportunity where it's kind of being missed by some of these giant platforms out there? Where does Singulate live in the ecosystem that's kind of competitive already?
Yeah, totally. We like to say that Singulate is a CRM's best friend. So we sit on top of platforms like HubSpot or Salesforce, Marketo. We have a tight integration with these platforms, and so all the kind of the powerful integration that's been set up on these platforms, we're not asking you to rip and replace, but rather use Singulate as the composer. So you've got this data that you're bringing into these platforms, but those platforms themselves, the way you create personalization and segmentation is really, really difficult and arduous and kind of surface level. And in the sense that it's static personalization, it's token based. Where with Singulate, what we're building is with generative AI, you can take that data and build on it to write content that's just for that individual. And you can segment much more easily. So instead of creating 60 different versions of an email and messaging and analytics reports and managing 60 different campaigns, you can do it all just from one and kind of tweak and branch any part of that email, CTAs, images, headlines to capture the nuance for that segment that you're looking to target. So it saves marketing ops folks like a ton of time, like days and days of work to get campaigns and automations out. The other part of this is that when you work with Singulate, we ingest CRM, product, and events data, and basically any source of data you can plug into Singulate, like a CDP. And then with Singulate, you craft the messages, like you create the template, and then you can do one-off sends or sequences, or you can also plug it into your automation so that anytime a trigger happens, an automation that sends with Singulate goes out, but you can also send through marketing automation platforms too, so that kind of all the data stays in whatever source of truth you want. It's like whether it's HubSpot or Marketo. So we can send through HubSpot, we can send through multiple platforms like Zapier. Singulate can send itself, but we're adding these integrations every week now. So
some pretty solid integrations there, indeed. So from the time that you actually received the call, was it an IHOP? And to now, how far along has the product come? And I've seen, your content on LinkedIn. I've seen it seems like there's a lot of progress being done. Where's the product now? And with AI, has it been easier in terms of the development process to build, or has it the timeline of building the product and kind of, building your initial, I wouldn't say MVP, but initial product, has AI sped up the development process, if at all?
Yeah, totally. We've been building full time since July. We've grown the team to 10. We raised a pre-seed amount of funding earlier this year from some fantastic investors. And the feedback so far that we're getting from not just our users, but our investors is like, we're moving at an incredibly fast rate. This is something that we've kind of taken from Hopin, is the value of moving fast and shipping quickly. So like the quality of work and this, because we're building with AI, things are moving very fast. Our team is 90% engineers. We got 2 product designers, and then it's me, and then other contractors. So we're very tech heavy, and AI's co-pilots, like the engineering team is flying and shipping these huge features that would previously take months to develop. They're doing it in weeks. But then AI, like from a technology standpoint, AI is changing like every other month with new releases from foundation models, and that impacts and actually improves our product. Whenever that happens, like we want foundation models to get better and better and better, because that makes our job and what we're building and our users' job, doing prompt engineering much, much easier and more accurate and more reliable. So it's kind of a cool partnership to build in a vertical way on top of multiple foundation models, and we use several, and then we also bake in function generation. So like these foundation models, we use LLMs to generate code that then builds and helps generate the content at scale. I think that's okay for me to say, but there's some proprietary model training that we're also building in based on engagement from users. And it's something that we'll be able to pass along to our customers as well, as like what causes their audience to engage, like what subject line's working. It's kind of like the future of A/B testing, where we call it the TikTok algorithm for subject lines, where based on how somebody interacts with different languages and messaging in a subject line, we'll update and create kind of a model that suggests and writes and provides insights on an individual level for what causes that user to open and engage. So yeah, lots of interesting stuff and features to develop in the AI space.
Indeed. When it comes to email in this space, it seems like for the most part, general emails, ones that we send just from business correspondence purposes, like that email hasn't really changed that much. I know a lot of marketing companies have gotten really creative with obviously content, the imagery, but for the most part, email is it's probably one of the channels that hasn't changed at all. And in the past, decade, email is just email. How Singulate really plugging in and changing the landscape of email, obviously the personalization is gold. That's a huge gold mine, but what's your prediction for email in terms of the market opportunity and how it's going to evolve with the, with AI being a part of the mixture there?
Yeah, there's a lot here. The history of personalization is kind of interesting, where once it started with merge tags in like the early 1990s, and then with the early 2000s there was segmentation and automation, and really the trifecta of effective email marketing has always been right message, right person, right time. And segmentation and automation help with the second two, with sending the right to the right person based on a trigger and action, and then based on their demographic or firmographic information, and then maybe like some behavioral metrics too. That's how you can send to the right person at the right time. What's missing, like what hasn't been innovated in a long time, is the focus on the messaging, because automation is not personalization. When you automate something, you're sending basically an asynchronous, the same thing as a blast email, where it's like that content is something that you'd send to everybody. You're just sending it at different times, like at individual times based on an action. But the content itself is still a blast. Like it's still not relevant enough to that individual. And we get closer with segmentation, but there's still a ton of nuance and data that's not being used to impact the messaging of those communications at the individual level. So there's just a ton of we're very far away from sending personal, like effectively personalized, meaningfully, like applicable, thoughtful, like one-to-one personalized content via email. And what's happening now today with AI is it's being targeted towards sales. There's a ton, like you throw a rock and there's a new AI cold outreach, sales tool out there, but they're all encountering the same problem. And it's that the messaging is just not good. The personalization is not good enough. Yes, like it helps surface leads. It helps like identify opportunities and prospects. And you can do this at scale, but the messaging itself reads like AI writing. Like it comes across as creepy or persuasive or like erroneous, or like there's issues with AI writing, and you can't just let AI write it all. It has to be verified. It has to be edited. The human has to be in the loop. It has to be, a copywriter needs to be leading the original like creative process in writing. Again, that's on the sales side too. And if you ask me, like what I keep hearing is they have a burn and churn problem where it's like somebody uploads a list, they burn through it, and then they churn that platform. It's a short-term solution that can bump pipeline in the near term. But really from a marketing perspective, which is where we're focused on building long-term trust with prospects, customers in the funnel. So it's not cold outreach. You have data on them. They've been to events. They've interacted with your content. They know your team. There's context from calls, all this data that you have on your users, like that's usually done for nurtures. Like those are the types of communication that can be up leveled from a quality perspective, like product onboarding, welcome drips, news releases, feature releases, newsletters. Like there's like all this content that a brand shares out that marketing owns. All that needs to be individualized for each person based on the data we have. And that's the end result of that is better content where it builds that trust. Like it's that relevant sort of touch point where you can't tell that it's personalized. Like the best personalization is invisible. You can't tell that it was personalized. It's just a really good email. Like it's just really helpful and like high quality. That's kind of where we're going. And there's a fine line between when to use AI and what we're saying is instead of using AI for copywriting, you use it for the data ops side. So like you use AI to help create segments and help kind of identify opportunities for who to write for and make writing for those people really easy and like changing the message so that it is like cutting parts that aren't relevant, like save users time by making it shorter if something's not relevant to them. It's using AI for just like workflow and ops work like that. That's data related. And then letting the copywriter still have full control of the messaging or extending kind of their creativity in a way that has a pattern of personalization across the whole list. And then verifying that at scale, like making sure nothing happens that like no hallucination, checking for formatting, accuracy, like making sure each message is high quality for every person. Because if you have a 100-person list and one of those people gets something that's really, really off, and like that could kill a big deal. If we're operating in the B2B marketing space, so that one, like if you're doing ABM, that 1 out of 99 really, really matters. So we're building that kind of verification and authentication of AI at scale. So.
Got it. That actually leads me to the next question around like your target customers. As you mentioned, lots of data or more data, I imagine, creates better type of emails, and you have, obviously more to work off of. So ideal customers are going to be, are we talking about like HubSpot folks that are on HubSpot, Salesforce, list sizes? How big of a list do you need? How much data? What products are your customers using? Who are your customers?
Yeah. The folks that we're working with now, so we have over 50 beta testers. We're working with design partners at some pretty large companies. And who we find ourselves working with the most, or who most quickly and readily sees the pain point that Singulate solves, are the heads of growth, heads of marketing, head of demand gen. They're responsible for the MQL number. They have a content team that works with them. They have marketing ops as a function. They have a MarTech stack. They're using a CRM. They're thinking about segmentation and personalization as kind of levers to optimize their current channels. So it does tend to be more of a mid-market to enterprise customer profile that we're going after. I will say like SMBs and startups and like indie creators, that's where it's like often they're happy just sending out a newsletter where it is the same content for everybody. There's use cases where you want to keep the messaging the same. And you don't want to customize it too much to each person. And that's more like journalism or like objective, like messaging. That's good. And you can use Singulate for that. But Singulate also gives you superpowers with segmentation and personalization when you really want somebody to take an action and kind of like not just read the newsletter, but go, sign up for an event, go talk to sales, go read, interact with something on social. Like if the CTA is really important, that's where Singulate really shines, especially in the B2B space. And what we're seeing is a 3 to 7x increase in average click-through rates, 4x on response rates. So the engagement that you get from a singulated communication is dramatically higher than a blast communication that you would send with, a typical email marketing campaign. So yeah, that's a little bit like scaled companies, less so on the smaller company size. We do work with startups, but bigger companies are kind of where we're going, which has been a lot of fun learning about, kind of like seeing, like kind of coming back to where Hopin was and being like, yeah, I remember this world, and seeing kind of like the teams, the workflows, the strategies, and then being able to point people to the tool that we wish we had at Hopin has been really, like, the feedback has been really amazing to see, like, people saying, like, this is what I spend my day doing, and now you just did it in 5 minutes. So
I did want to backtrack a little bit on something you mentioned. I guess as a takeaway for our audience, when a company is looking for design partners, what's the best strategy, in your opinion, to find the right design partner? Someone who's going to, help the product evolve. It's going to, they're going to allow you to use it for their customer base. What are your recommendations or key takeaways there for a startup who's looking for a design partner?
Yeah, it's really, really interesting. And it's a good question, because when launching a new product and you're starting to build, like you're writing those first few lines of code, you're on discovery calls, kind of chatting with prospects and saying, like, is this idea worth it at all? And then the next phase of that is getting somebody into a proof of concept, to tinker and like test it out. At those very early stages of building a startup with a new product, you're going to struggle to get large enterprise companies feeling comfortable working with a proof of concept or like an MVP. That's not even
Mm-hmm.
So beta testers tend to be, friends, family, people in your network, smaller companies that are comfortable with adopting early stage tech that's a little rough around the edges and kind of buggy. So that was with Singulate. We had beta testers who helped us who jumped into the platform and kind of sent campaigns, and we were working with them, tracking with them. But then we had a business realization where it's like, these beta testers aren't necessarily our ICP. They don't have the amounts of data, the tech stacks, the team that Singulate really solves that pain point for. And then that's where we realized, okay, if beta testers aren't the way we're going to go to market, how do we get those larger companies using our product before it's really launched? And that's where the strategy of a design partnership program came about. And what that is, and this is super, like, I wish I had known about this earlier. Design partners are larger companies, and you sign an agreement where you kind of scope out what you're going to build for this larger company. It's often free, but it ends in a commercial engagement. And the idea is that these companies have often custom tech stacks or like team workflows and requirements. So a design partnerships helps you design your product and software to fit in with their tech stack. And here's the cool part, is that once you do that and they become a commercial partner for you, they're a logo, they're a case study, and their tech stack and the use case that you solve for them is representative of hundreds of thousands of other businesses and billions in revenue that you can then go to market with. And so it's kind of like how to build pipeline and develop the product to fit for product market fit prior to launch. That's what a design partnership program does.
It's always a bonus if they're paying you too. I don't know if that's the case in this instance, but sometimes they're willing to pay for the work. Obviously, sometimes it comes for free, and that's a lot of value in itself. But
yeah, I mean, that came up. Like one of our design partners asked, like, why don't we just structure this as a commercial, like jump into a commercial agreement right away? And for us, we said, like, we could, but we're also still early. Like, our company is 6 months old. The product isn't really in a place where we'd feel comfortable delivering on a commercial agreement scope. So that's where it's like, to set expectations and to time our launch and our ARR story that we want to tell. We're totally comfortable, and this is one of the benefits of being venture backed. is delaying those commercial agreements until we're fully ready and can do it at scale. So it's being kind of strategic with when you turn on revenue, because you don't want to turn it on too early, and then like they churn or it's not a good fit. So you kind of want to like build that momentum up towards a larger launch.
Got it. Makes sense. Being 6 months old, the company being 6 months old, have you thought about your pricing strategy? Is that something still in the works? What are you thinking? How are you going to charge your potential customers?
Yeah, it's still pretty early on this, but annual agreements and consumption based. There will be. I don't think we're going to do seats. There's going to be something with tiering around our features, with like the variable, the tags, the variables, the amount of branch segments and singulated snippets that you can use. So kind of like if you really want to get the full power of Singulate, that's going to be on a higher plan. But we don't plan to do anything self-serve or kind of have a free plan. That's something that we can save for down the road. We're starting with upmarket, so very much kind of like a sales-led process at the beginning. But once we've kind of carved out and captured the upmarket opportunity, then we have a couple other strategies, like sweeping down market, releasing a free plan, going PLG, and kind of knocking out a bunch of other players in the future, and then also going omnichannel. Launching WhatsApp and landing pages and ebooks and even direct mail. Like the advertising. There's a ton, and then there's like a white label opportunity too, where we power the email marketing function of other SaaS products that want to offer deeper segmentation and easier and higher quality personalization than kind of what's available now in email marketing editors. So really, really interesting. Like this could be an enormous business that we're excited for.
And all of this in 6 months. This is wild, man. You've been super busy. There's a lot here. I love how, you mentioned this before, but how you get like obsessed with the product. You want to know every single angle of the market. You always do your homework. I really admire that about you, and how you just go all the way in. You straight head first into the product, learn everything, learn the market, and then start piecing it all together. That's something I really do appreciate in the way you operate.
Yeah, something that I've learned, I guess, being a founder / also being a marketer, is like you need to love the product that you are marketing. Like you need to understand it, use it, dog food it yourself, but like really believe. Like that's, if I were to put it to a word, it would be the word belief. That you need to like believe that the tool, the product that you're bringing to market is something that's going to transform the world at scale for good, in a good way. And the question I like to ask founders and marketers is, if your product were to be adopted by every target customer, like your full TAM adopts is a customer, what does the world look like? Or like, how does the world look different than it is today? That whatever that vision is, like what that picture of the future looks like, the marketer needs to be telling that story. The founder is telling that story. And they need to believe in it. If it's like marginally like barely helping the world out, or like doesn't really matter, then it's like, is this the right product to be building? Or like, are you in the right role? So like whenever, like at Hopin, for each of the products that I worked on and helped launch, I had to viscerally believe in that product to really get behind it and do a good job with marketing. And it's the same with Singulate. Like I see that now as like, what does the world look like with Singulate being fully adopted? It looks like people falling in love with their inboxes again, which sounds so like never in a million years would that happen. But that's exactly like LinkedIn used to be kind of not great. Now LinkedIn's pretty, like people are loving LinkedIn. It's like growing extremely quickly. Like things change. And in 5 to 10 years, I think business is built on email. And yes, it's been kind of saturated, you could say, because it's been around for so long. But that's why there's this huge opportunity to disrupt email and make it better. And the fundamental shift is AI, and the winners are going to use AI in a way that people love, like that really helps businesses and connects with customers, builds that long-term trust. That's what the world's going to look like if we succeed in 5 to 10 years.
Is there anything that surprised you about the email market? I mean, I feel like for me personally, I haven't really paid attention too much to email. I'm just like, I know it's needed, I know it's important, but jumping into it when you went head first, and was there anything pretty surprising about the industry that you were just like, well, I didn't see that market opportunity, or I didn't understand this aspect of email? What surprises kind of came up?
Yeah, I think it was the automation. Marketers believing that automation is enough, where it's kind of like you create your message, you identify your list, criteria, identify the trigger, and then that email message is sent automatically. Hands off, great, it can scale. That's the beauty and the curse of marketing automation. With automation, yes, it allows you to communicate at scale in a much better way, and that's what drives like 35% of a business's revenue on average is marketing automation. However, the curse of it is it also can destroy trust in a brand, or it can, and in a subtle way, like it can erode a customer's relationship or a prospect's trust in a brand because of the content that's being sent. And that's the part that gets ignored, is like, great, we set up this marketing automation. How's it doing? How's it tracking? Let's do some A/B testing. But like, is it really communicating to the individual and the jobs that they need to get done, the pain points that they're going through? Is it helping them be more successful? Is it as thoughtful as an individual? Like if you and I were to send an email to each other, is it that thoughtful? And the answer is no, it's not right now, because the content is still pretty much like 98% the same. And we just swap out first name or job title. That's not personalization. Like that's not changing the content enough to be tailored to the individual. There's a long way to go. And that's where I'm really excited about what Singulate's building is. It's giving a marketer the tools to be able to do that one-to-one personalization at scale easily, and in a higher quality way. So like, there's still like a lot to figure out. But I was on a demo call the other day with someone who had just jumped off a demo from a large competing platform. And then they saw what we're building at Singulate, and they said, this is way, way, way more advanced than what the other platform was doing. And it's a huge, like, multi-billion-dollar company. And what we've built in 6 months is leapfrogging kind of what's been accepted as sophisticated and advanced. So
that's exciting. Yeah, that's great feedback. In your belief in the product, as you mentioned, you have to believe in it. Where's Singulate headed in the next 2-3 years? Where do you see the product? How many users? How much revenue? What's your vision for the product?
Yeah, next year we're planning to announce the product. So like, to date, we've been in stealth, and we just came out of stealth a month ago, and the wait list has since crossed over 1,000. We're working with our design partners over the next 3 to 6 months, and our beta testers, and kind of just refining the product, honing in, because email marketing is such a huge industry and everybody does it. We're picking the use cases that we do best before kind of going broad. So that's kind of the next couple months is nailing those use cases, and then we'll launch the product. We'll probably have future rounds of funding that will coincide with this launch. And then we'll scale the go-to-market team. Once we find product market fit, then we'll hire our go-to-market team, our first sales hires, and then it's sell, big deal sizes. And then we start to go omni-channel. We can sweep down. There's a lot of different directions we could take Singulate's technology. That's kind of like why our website, at least right now, says future of large-scale communication, and the word Singulate means to break off into one, to isolate away from others. That's where the word singulation is supposed to mean the future of personalization. And that's kind of the way we see this going, is that singulated content becomes a thing. Potentially. I don't know if people are going to use it in that way, but if we're successful, it's kind of like, you're just like, there's personalization and then there's singulation. And like, the future of personalization is singulation. So yeah, product is will branch into multiple different channels, form factors, and dominate.
Let's go. Let's do it. Super exciting. I did want to note this. You're really good at names. Like, did you come up with a name? And I know you have, like, we've talked before, like some domains that you own, and I'm like, damn, how did I not buy that? And now that when I like search for like domains, like on GoDaddy or something, I'm like, I come up with a name that I think of that I absolutely want. I'm like, Dave probably owns it if it's already like booked or if it's already bought. I'm like, damn it.
Yeah. Yeah. My thoughts on a name and the importance of a domain. If you can, it is your first introduction and first impression of your product, your brand, your business, like what you're building. So if it's like esoteric, hard to pronounce, unclear, or like kind of weirdly constructed, like it's not doing yourself a favor in making that first sell, in making that first kind of like win. So if you get a clear name, easy to pronounce, easy to spell, simple, and a strong domain, which I'd say is definitely worth, if you're serious about the business, about what you're building, like if you're venture backed, do yourself a favor and get the .com, because that's going to allow more doors to be more easily opened, if that makes sense, especially if you're marketing to larger companies where that kind of credibility is required. So it kind of is just, it's a small, maybe a little hack. Like is it completely necessary? No, but it helps kind of like accelerate the brand in the early days.
Super valuable. Dave, in the past 6 months, just, as we come to a close, I know there's been a lot going on with the company, and obviously you have a vast experience in product and in marketing, but what are some of your kind of takeaways in the past 6 months of developing this new company, going from, Hopin, jumping directly into Singulate? What are some of the kind of takeaways that you would, share with our audience, obviously of entrepreneurs who have their own products, or maybe even thinking of they're doing, making the same career move as you did, and they're working for a company, but thinking about, starting a business with some partners or independently? Like, what are some of your takeaways from the past 6 months?
Yeah, cool. I got a couple, maybe three. One is kind of like marketing in the early days. So I'm like a marketer by background, but now I'm co-founder and CEO. And when you're in stealth or like pre-product market fit, like marketing those days is this stage is interesting. That's one. The other one is co-founders. Like, how do you find your co-founders? I am extremely lucky to be working with John and Nico, my co-founders, like some of the smartest, like I'd say Hopin's smartest engineers. And so like, it's like getting married. You've heard that cliche. It's very true. Like, you got to work on your communication. You have to work on your meeting rhythms. We're a fully remote company. We're used to that, like from the Hopin days. But they're like, the company being all engineers and I'm the only go-to-market person, like the culture is just more technical. And so it's like the key to getting through these early stages and working with co-founders who are different from you is adaptability, and like you need to be pretty flexible on your beliefs and styles. And the more rigid you are, the more unproductive it will be. The other one is Sam Altman says that if you can do the job of your co-founder, it's probably not a good fit. Like, you need to be different people. And I'd say between the three of us, like that's very much true, very, very true. But with differences comes debate and disagreements. And that's where the more disagreement, I'd say the better. So I had a conversation with another founder who kind of struggled to find product market fit, and ended up having a co-founder breakup situation where the technical co-founder left. And when I mentioned that, like John, Nico, and I, we tend to disagree a lot, debate a lot. He said that this other founder said that he wished he debated and disagreed more with his co-founder, because it means that you care. And if both from a technical feasibility perspective and the market customer perspective, if you both really care about the product, then you're going to figure out a more creative, like a more original, explored solution versus someone just getting their way and it's incomplete. So I think that's like the more, if you can debate and disagree, but still kind of move forward and stay productive with that, very healthy, like very good for shaping a complete product. The other one too is like, this is my first time in the CEO seat. You know, like I'm in Hopin, I was there from the beginning, but Johnny was handling, you know, some pretty huge areas of the company that as CEO he handled, and I didn't really see. So now that I'm kind of in the CEO seat, it's really interesting. Like kind of like the daily roller coaster, not being able to get everything done that you want to get done, like the constant state of overwhelm. But then what's cool is as CEO, like as a co-founder, if you don't like the way something's done in your company, you have the agency and control to change it. And so like there's like a responsibility and agency that comes with a high amount of pressure when you're growing, especially at a venture-backed company where like speed is everything. So that's something that I've had to adjust to, you know, personally, like with my family. And it's been a lot of fun, like to be able to drive and kind of experience this firsthand. But it's different. So yeah, it's the most successful founders. I forget who said this, but the most successful founders are ones who level up. Like they adapt through the stages of the business from pre-product market fit, product market fit to scale, and into like corporate management. Like Mark Zuckerberg is like the perfect example of someone who is able to adapt and change himself as the company went through all the phases from beginning to where it's at today. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun. And like last thing I'll say is that, you know, my degree is in entrepreneurship. I founded Entrepreneurship Handbook. Like I study and like love startups and founders. And now to be doing it kind of like myself, it's like a dream come true. It's like, I was born for this. And, yes, it's hard sometimes, but the reward and the meaning and the purpose and the impact and the momentum and the team, like all of the pieces kind of coming together has been really gratifying, I guess. Like it's like I feel like I'm doing what I'm called to be doing. And for that reason, it's like there's nothing else I'd rather be doing and spending my time with.
That's amazing, Dave. And as a friend as well, I'm super excited about what you're doing. It's super inspirational, and I this past 6 months have been been following your journey on LinkedIn, as I mentioned. So I've seen a lot of your progress, seen a lot of your great work. So super excited about what's coming next. Please stop by again and keep us updated on the progress of Singulate. And just, we definitely want to keep a pulse, and then, just want to congratulate you on the success as well. If folks want to find you, where can we find you? And I'm sure a bunch of people know where to find you, but just, let us know what's the best way to contact you. Stay in touch.
First thing, Dave at Singulate.com. Shoot me an email. I love email. And I'm on LinkedIn, Dave Schools, and then on X as well, Dave Schools, 3 O's in schools. But yeah, would love to connect with anyone. And thank you, Michael, for the time. Enjoy the conversation, and great to catch up.
Likewise. Thank you, Dave. Dave Schools, everyone.
Thanks.